Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the PB&J Ballers podcast. I'm your host, Peter the Rock, along with my boy Jazzy Main.
We in the building. Let's go. It's draft
Yes,
lottery day.
yes, Jazzy is a very, very big fan of the lottery this year, and he's a Detroit Pistons fan, so hopefully he's got a lot to look into
I'm
and be happy
excited.
about. Yeah. So, Jazzy, why don't you start us off today? What are you thinking about this year's draft?
I think this is a strong class. It's a deep class. There's a lot of athletes. This is an interesting dynamic this year as well because you got the players who went straight from high school to the G League that are now going to the draft. That's a talking point to see where they land. That's
Yeah, because,
a big
like,
one.
man, it's been a
That changed
while.
the game really.
Oh, for sure. Because like overseas, internationally, I always tell this about Luka Doncic, and Europe kind of has it right in that sense that they let their players. If you're a player, 15 years old, 16 years old, you want to play basketball. That's your profession. That's what you want to do. They go into FIBA. They go straight into FIBA, and they start playing internationally, right? Like Luka was a pro before he became a rookie in the NBA. Let's be honest. There's pictures of him even floating around with him versus Westbrook when the NBA players go overseas. And like I think the league was very slow to the gun on that because that's been happening for a long time overseas in Europe, and the fact that G League
The
players,
format seems to work.
it does honestly, like it's kind of it's just. I like the fact the NBA is doing this, and you can't complain, right? Like basketball talent is just at its peak, so we should like the NBA especially should do everything in its power to nurture that talent. And I like the fact that the G League is an option for players that don't want to go to college because let's be honest, some people just go to college to just play that one season and go to the NBA. Sometimes it's not even worth it for them. What if it happens if they get injured, right?
The first person I seen ever do that was the 2009 high school class. It was Brandon Jennings, and he went to play in Italy. And he transitioned to the NBA fairly well, but more popularly now, LaMelo Ball, and
Yeah.
he seemed to take that path and say screw the NCAA.
You know what? Again, look at he's good point on Lamelo. I think what in the past 3 years, the rookies of the year has been Luka Doncic and Lamelo Ball, and both those players were international, right? Or unless
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
mistaken.
technically they both went overseas. Like, because Lamelo played in Lithuania and
Yeah,
Australia,
yeah. He never really was part of like the college ball scene. He just went straight overseas.
and then
But
you also have R.J. Hampton who did it successfully as well.
yes, he did, and he's actually a pretty good player. Denver traded him for
A nice
in the
role
trade to Aaron
player.
Gordon, but he's a nice role player. And I'm a big fan of European players, man. Like that's where a lot of the league's talent's coming from, right? Don't get me wrong, the U.S. is producing mad talent, but it's not
Jokic is a great example.
exactly my boy Jokic, man. MVP, best player in the league this year,
The
100%.
finesse and skill from overseas, it's really smooth compared to the grittiness of the American game.
For sure. I actually have an uncle who played overseas. He was Division 2, and he played in France, Germany, Greece, and then even my dad back in the early 90s. He was playing ball, and a coach ended up just seeing him, and he's like, they offered him a Division 2 scholarship, and it was like 30,000 euros a year, or at that time it was like the drachma. But like they're always looking for talent overseas, especially in like the European countries, and that's where a lot of people generate their talent, right? Because it's a lot more open for them. Like again, my dad got an offer just from playing on the street. That's how good they thought he
And,
was, and they offered him a scholarship because he could speak Greek and English.
and the big thing too is the NCAA is losing a lot of money with these big time superstars foregoing college.
Yeah,
That's
again,
why they put the one and done rule in. Personally, in my opinion,
oh
is
yeah,
to make sure that like people like Cade Cunningham have to go to NCAA
yeah, it's
and make them money
oh
for
for
1 year.
sure. The March Madness is one of those things that like they're gonna make that their priority because that's a big
Oh, it's
money
always
maker.
going to be a big deal, but like
Yeah,
if they don't have these superstars to market it around,
yeah, and you know what?
think
Like,
if Lamelo went to Duke or something, you know how much money that would have filtered into them.
oh for sure, and like that's another big
Or
thing
if
too. Like
Luca, you know what I'm saying?
all
Like
these schools make so much money off those guys too, and they can't see it. They can't legally see a dime of that money, right? Because then it's illegal, right? That's this pandering, and there's a lot of
they're
legal
trying to
issues
shift the
involved.
rules on that, and that's a interesting dynamic as well as how the NCAA and like these overseas things like filter into the NBA
Yeah, it's a weird topic because again, like
because they all connect to each other. Like
yeah, like you look at the guy like Zion, right? Like Zion, when he's in Duke, he did their team like not only were they amazing because they had like super good talent beside him, but like. they had so much popularity, and the Duke University made mad money off of the hype from Zion.
Oh
Like,
yeah, he made them millions, bro.
and again, speaking of Zion as well, not all these NBA players that were once NCAA players are going to pop off and make like 90 million on freaking endorsements like Zion did, right? Like Zion came into the league and he was set for life. He fucking got a big contract with Nike and Jordan. He got a big contract, and he was like, he's so like marketable, and everybody started marketing him. Like he got his colorways in the first couple months, and he wasn't even playing when he got his
Oh
colorways
yeah,
out.
he
Like,
got a signature shoe before Luca did.
exactly. So it's like not all players are going to do that, but imagine the generated like income for like Duke jerseys that were Zion Williamson. Like
Well, the gray area there is the NBA made the G League, which is now an option for these high school players to go straight to and say, forget the NCAA.
yeah,
We'll pay you to play basketball strictly.
and you know what, the
You're
G
making money.
League.
You can focus fully. You don't got to go to school.
Exactly. And you know what? Some teams like my Raptors, man, they know how to take G League talent and turn it into NBA talent, right? Like G League and like
Oh yeah, they're one of the best out
like
there.
man, look at Van Vliet. Van Vliet was undrafted. Chris Boucher, undrafted. Siakam, it was 27th overall pick, and he developed like crazy in the G
That
League.
Raptors 905 team is very stout as far as
Dude, they had
like
Norm. It was like at one point it
solid
was
talent.
Norm Van Vliet, and you had Siakam, and you had like Chris Boucher. That's like their starting lineup right now. Except for Norm. Norm got traded, but like the talent that the G League can produce it's gonna take a while to get like where it wants to be, but it's definitely on the right track.
Oh yeah, and these big time superstars like Jalen Green's coming out this year.
Yeah.
Jonathan Kuminga,
Oh man,
he's a
Cade
possible top
Cunningham,
five.
bro. Oh no, Cade Cunningham was in the regular NCAA. But yeah,
It's,
speaking of
I'm
those
excited to see
players,
how the pong balls fall. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
100%. Like yeah, you said, Jonathan Kuminga, he was in the Ignites,
He's a monster athlete.
and then Jalen Green was also on Ignite. Like there's a lot of players on this draft that I'm looking through that they are from the G League. But speaking of the G League and the NCAA, what are you looking? What do you think? Who do you think is going to go number one? I think that's the biggest thing. I know everyone says Cade Cunningham, but do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think he's the best of the class. Jalen Green is going to go top three, I believe.
Yeah, and you
But
know what?
I think Cade Cunningham's just a clear cut best talent that there is all around.
I'm gonna be interested in seeing where Jonathan Kuminga ends up going, because you know what? He's the type of guy, like, I've watched him and I think he has really good potential. But then there's also guys like Jalen Suggs, who I didn't really know. But then
Oh
during
yeah,
his
he's potentially top five.
man, he really, really raised his draft stock after the highlights that he performed with Gonzaga, especially his buzzer beater and just the talent. Ignoring the finals, because the finals, like, the whole team kind of got dogged by Baylor. But man, he was putting in so much work with Time,
I got a prediction I'm gonna make, Pete.
for sure.
If if uh if the Magic get a top three pick, I think they'll take either one of those G League guys. I think they'll either take Kaminga or Jalen Green.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
That's the Magic. But
100.
I've been seeing a lot of projections that the Rockets are going to get the number one pick.
Yeah,
And let's
it's
be honest, the NBA tries to like feed the pick to the biggest market, whoever they think can make the most money,
yeah.
whatever's the best upbringing for that talent.
Yeah, it's hard not to believe that, especially when like the Warriors got the second overall pick a year after,
Oh
2 years
yeah,
after
and
winning a
also
chip.
let's not forget, folks. Whenever LeBron left, the NBA rewarded them for like 3 years in a row. Kyrie, Andrew
Yeah,
Wiggins,
that's a fact. I
Anthony Bennett.
honestly, looking at this
Come
list,
on, that's not hard to see. You know,
yeah, it's definitely not. But if I when looking at this list,
the big thing is the Knicks, though.
yeah,
If you remember Patrick Ewing, they said for sure that was the frozen envelope.
yeah. Honestly, like I hope I want the Raptors to pick up a guy like Ty Jones or Kai Jones. I think like the
Oh, he's
Raptors.
he's athletic.
I think they need a big, and he's a dynamic big, and
He's a lob threat for sure.
exactly. And I think the Raptors could use a player
Him
like
and
that.
Freddie would be nice.
Yeah, exactly. I think like when you're looking at the list of just like the top 15, the only guy that really sticks out for the Raptors is going to be a guy like Kai Jones, because I don't think they need any more from the 1 to the 4 spot. They got Siakam, they got Boucher, they got OG Anunoby, who's like their defensive guy that they put on like any defense. They need a guy to defend, they put OG on him, and they already got Lowry if they keep him, but they already got guys like Malachi Flynn and Van Vliet. I hope they get Kai Jones. He's projected to go 12th on a lot of lists, but I think if the Raptors get like a top 5, I think they'll risk it and take Kai. I don't think they need any guards or any small forward type players in the top, other than Evan Mobley, but I don't think they'll get it.
Evan
Either.
Mobley is another one that could sneak in that number 1 spot.
Yeah, again, you know what, the league, if you look at this top 5, there's not very many bigs. There's there's one center at the top in the top 2, and then there's guards, one small forward, which is Jonathan Kuminga, and then the next biggest center or power forward, they got the 10th,
There's still
11th, 12th.
value in these bigs in the high upper echelon of this draft,
100%. But again, if the Raptors can get Kai Jones, I'll be a happy man. I'll be very happy. Even Evan Mobley, like, fuck, who knows?
Detroit needs somebody that can do it all, man. On that end of the spectrum, we need either a Cade Cunningham or a Jalen Green.
I was about to say Jalen Green would fit
Evan
really
Mobley
nicely.
Projects.
Yeah, if you guys can snag Jonathan Kuminga, I think you'll be a happy man.
Yeah, we can't go wrong really in this draft, which is easy for a Detroit fan to say because we fuck everything up.
No, don't jinx it, yo.
I don't want to put bad juju in the air. We usually get the 8th through the 12th pick, so if we get a top 5, folks, I'm very excited.
You know what? It's going to be interesting to see where like you said, where the ping pong balls lie tonight. But, other than the G League and the whole draft, there was another big piece of news that came out today, and it was like a couple hours before we talked about starting this episode. And I'm very excited for it, but at the same time, I'm nervous. And what I'm talking about is the league has decided finally to add rules involving players kicking out their feet. And I'm very, very, very happy about this because one of my...
I can't lie, I got mixed emotions about it.
I do as well, but they're one of the things I hate. I hate about jump shooting is the players that don't have a natural rhythm when they shoot. Like, they kick out their feet and they try to instigate. And, you could call it the James Harden rule. You could call it the Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, whatever person you want to stick to that name. I like it, but at the same time, I know NBA officials. I've watched the NBA for a long time, and I think it's going to be a little challenging for them to decide on what is and what's not, because part of this whole rule change is they're going to have to be retrained, and they're going to have to be taught what is and what isn't considered a kick out, right? Because again, if you ask the player, did you kick your feet out? Obviously, they're going to say, "Oh, I didn't kick my feet out. That's just my natural shooting form." If you're not shooting from the half, you shouldn't be kicking your feet out. You don't need that much momentum on your shot.
I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Damian Lillard shoots a natural shooting form from 36, 37 feet out, and he rarely kicks out his feet. I really like Damian Lillard when he shoots because he doesn't try. He's really good at just taking the shot and not kicking his legs out. I don't see him do that a lot.
Here's the thing. This rule might muddy the water, so to speak, because it's a restriction, but it's supposed to help the game more freely be played instead of this, like you said, this tic-tacky jumping into the shooter type of.
Yeah, it's I just, again, there's a lot of players that make their namesake off of being able to draw fouls. Like, you put in a guy like James Harden in the conversation because he is one of the preliminary guys that are probably going to get looked at for this rule, and that's why in the playoffs especially he becomes kind of less talented because most of the time in the playoffs, the refs are a little more stingy with their whistle. You can look back to like even 2018 when it was the Warriors versus the Houston Rockets in the second round. It was Game 7, and James Harden, you just saw him, he kept complaining to the refs. He kept complaining like, "Oh, I'm not getting these fouls." And the refs are like, "Nah, the whistle's tighter now. You can't get all these fouls in the postseason because that muddies the game up, Like, you can't."
Yeah, it's so subjective. It's not definitive. And if this rule is not very definitive, and if it becomes like one of those subjective things, then it's going to cloud the waters. It's going to muddy the waters and make the game less free flowing. When that's actually what they were trying to do in the first place, make 100%. It more free flowing.
If it's in my opinion, if this rule goes into effect, there can't be any gray area. The defender. In my perfect world, the defender has right to his own space. I always say that when I'm talking to people. The league has very much shied away from having defenders have their own type of space. And a lot of the space that the defenders once had, it becomes the offensive guys. So my issue is, if they do this rule, they're going to have to say, okay, the defender has a right to his bubble. And if the offensive player kicks out, it's going to automatically have to be an offensive. But they're not going to do that. They're not going to give the defender that much credit. They're going to give the offensive guy more credit than the defensive guy. And that's where the problem
Facts.
comes in, right? Because again, players, I'm not going to say players like to flop, but there are some players that do look like they enjoy flopping. They know how to do it properly and they are talented at it. But
It's an art. I mean, as much as people hate it, it's an art to get to the line.
for sure, if it's like a pump fake and the guy jumps, 100% you call that a defensive foul. Because if you are a defender, hands up. There's hands down, man down, and there's hands up, no jumping. If you're a 6'5", 6'6" guy, honestly, you don't need to jump, right? Like again, you're not looking for the block, you're looking for the contest of most of the time. So if you get caught jumping and the defender pump fake or the offensive guy pump fakes you into a jump, by all means, it's a defensive foul, 2 free throws, 3 free throws, whatever. But my issue is when somebody goes off a screen and then jumps in the air 2 feet and then kicks their feet out another 3 feet and then hits the defender that's just trying to be there. That's where it starts to get a little bit more gray.
Yeah, like flailing backwards.
Yeah, the flail is going to be the problem, right? Because they're going to have to determine on the fly which players are they're going to be the culprits. Because I think that's another thing they're going to look at too. They're going to look at individual players that are known to have this issue. Because again, some players naturally they shoot and they kind of land forward, but some players shoot and half the time they're not kicking their feet out, and then when they want to, they will kick their feet out. Like, oh, I kicked my feet out this time, but I didn't do it the last 3 times. And they're going to have to start doing profiles on players that they think are going to do that. Because otherwise, how are you going to control it, right?
But the thing is, that won't be refs the same across the league, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and again, that's the other thing too. It's not going to be ref the same way, but I'm excited that they're doing something because it's been a problem for the past few seasons, to say the least.
Yeah, change isn't always bad. We're not implying that at all.
The problem is, can the change be done properly and officiated properly? That's the biggest thing. Man, you know what though? Right now, I'm very happy as an NBA fan. I really am enjoying the playoffs this year, and I really like the dynamic and the parity. There isn't a big super team out there right now. The Bucks already destroyed that one. The final
When you
four this year are, in my opinion, it's the nicest parity I've seen in a very long time. A very long time. Like that's even me looking at like the Raptors ring, right? The Raptors ring had a lot of parity in it too. No LeBron. The Warriors made it sure, but they were injured with no Kevin Durant. And then the Raptors just went on a tear in the Eastern Conference and ended up winning. But this year you got the Bucks, you got the Suns, you got the Hawks, and then you have the Clippers. All three of the four teams haven't seen a conference finals in such a long time. Three
It's nice not know like who's gonna win. Like
exactly.
when you can guess the end result as a fan, that's not it's entertaining.
Because like even the Hawks Bucks series, right? 9 times out of 10, someone's gonna say the Bucks are gonna beat them, and I agree. I don't think Giannis is gonna go down this year. I think he might win it all. But at the same time, Trey Young has already dropped the Knicks in 5, and then he dropped the Philadelphia 76ers in 7, which is huge because let's be honest, the 76ers should have beat the Hawks in any other world, but Ben Simmons sold the bag. that's
I mean,
that's
I agree. I don't see the Bucks losing to the Hawks, but there's a possibility.
You know what? The series I'm really looking forward to is the Clippers versus Suns. One, because there's a good injury on both teams, right? Two good players are injured. You have Chris Paul, the fourth quarter god, and you have Kawhi Leonard, the android sent from the future to play basketball. They're both injured. So now it becomes less of a game of stars. It becomes more of a game of roles. You need the role players to step up, and you need guys like Devin Booker and Paul
Hmm.
George to play basically every single minute because Kevin Durant did that, and he needed to do that, and he almost pulled it out. But as just at this point, it becomes a game of can Devin Booker and can Paul George do it for their team,
Well, also you got the matchup if Chris Paul comes back of Chris Paul against Rondo, and
which
that's a known
is
beef.
yes, oh yeah,
They
that's
don't like each other, that's for
no, they
sure.
do not. You know what? When I think about it, I'm torn on who. Raptors are Eastern Conference. Giannis is Greek. I really appreciate Giannis, and I really want to see him win a ring. If he wins a ring this year, he'll win the ring. He'll probably win Finals MVP. And I think the biggest thing is that if you look at his accolades, he'll win the ring, his first ring, a year before LeBron, and he also has a DPOI, and he also has 2 regular season MVPs, and he'll also probably bring home the Finals MVP hardware. So if you're looking at that, like if you're looking at his career compared to like a guy like LeBron, he'll have a way better start than a guy like LeBron would. You know,
It'll mean a lot for his career.
100%. But then you look on the other side of the coin, right? I personally want to see Chris Paul win a ring because that's like the only thing that he hasn't done. Like him as a player, even like a couple years ago, you hear a lot of stories of like Chris Paul and some other teams don't really get along, right? Some big players don't want to play with Chris Paul. Some players just don't like him. But you can't deny he's made every single team he's played on in the past decade a better team. Look at OKC. They're a playoff team with Chris Paul. Look at the
That
Suns.
alone is remarkable.
Look at the Suns. The Suns were
You
great
take
last year. Yeah.
CP3 off that team, and they're nobody now.
No. Even the Suns, man. The Suns 2 years ago were scrubs. They were like what, barely above. They weren't even 20 wins. Last year they almost make it to the bubble, but they didn't. They won 8 games in a row. It wasn't enough. This year the Suns are second place. What was the difference? You got Chris Paul on your team. They're second seed in the West. It's just like I said, parity. Parity is huge, and it's nice to see it. It's nice to see not LeBron and Curry in the finals together. Not LeBron and Curry in the finals together.
And another thing about the Giannis situation, them going to the finals and especially winning it, there's no heat about him signing the Supermax. If you
No.
remember, a lot of people are like, no, he
Yes.
shouldn't sign it. He needs to go to the super team. Blah, 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 go to Miami.
Yeah. There's very few
It
players.
makes it all make sense,
There's very few players in the league that have that type of camaraderie, but also that type of loyalty. If you were to name if I were to name 3 players right now that are like the loyalist of the loyal,
There's hardly many.
Damian Lillard, you got who we just said, Giannis, and in order for me to even think of like another person, I would have to just like really just dig into
I've
my
got one
brain.
for you.
Well,
Steph Curry.
and Steph Curry, yeah. Steph Curry is a little bit different though because again, Steph
I mean,
Curry,
he was drafted there, though.
yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? And again, he wasn't always a successful player on the Warriors, right? He wasn't really there until 2012, and he's already run 3 rings with them, right? So it's hard for him to leave. But in the past 2 seasons, you could have made a case for him stepping out to another team without Clay, especially. The last 2 seasons weren't that nice to the Warriors and Steph
A lot
Curry.
of people thought that was going to implode, and either Clay or Curry was leaving.
Yeah,
For
again,
them to stick together is smart.
Steph Curry, I think this is a good segue actually because I love Steph Curry, and people were saying you should give Steph Curry the MVP. The only really big thing against his MVP candidacy was the placement of their team. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't win anything in the play-in, but this Steph Curry, I've mentioned it before, showed shades of 2016 unanimous MVP Steph Curry. Like he was the guy
He
again.
showed he can lead the team.
Dude, I never did doubt it. He could lead the team. NBA fans sometimes are just too quick to jump the gun. A lot of NBA fans are like that. NBA fans are like, oh, Kawhi's going to get injured, or what are the Raptors doing? NBA fans as well, oh, the Brooklyn Nets are a super team. They're going to win the ring this year. Oh, my God. And then they're quick to beef other teams, too. But fuck, Steph is just, he's the greatest shooter of all time. If you don't believe it, it's just like you're ignoring the facts, you know? And Damian Lillard's making a case for getting close to that too, especially with the play he's had in the postseason and the regular season the past couple years. But Steph's on a different playing field. Steph knows how to play the game so well. He knows how to beat it. He doesn't know how to play it. He knows how to win it.
He just makes everything different when he's out there.
No, again, people, especially my family, they always say that Steph isn't really a playmaker, but I always disagree with them. I'm like, listen, if you're as crafty as Steph Curry, you're going to play make no matter what. Because as soon as you touch the ball, everybody's eyes are on you. So if you don't pass the ball, that's a lot of defenders that only have their eyes on you. So he's not only, at least again, I wouldn't say he's forced into a position to play make, but he knows when to get his guys open. He knows when to put the ball in someone's hands, especially when he's like trying to get them open by distracting the rest of the other team. At the end of the day, Klay Thompson next year on that team is going to be in the top 4 in the Western Conference. They got James Wiseman. They're going to keep Draymond. They're going to get Klay back. And Wiggins decided to have a really good season this year. This might have been the breakout he finally needed to look like a number 1 overall pick in a draft, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Before we finish, Jazzy, anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Well, their mindset still is championship. The Warriors aren't scheming anything less, you know.
100%. Totally
Especially if
agree.
Clay comes back healthy, just like Durant proved you can do it.
Oh,
And
100%.
if Clay comes back healthy, they're going to be nasty. They have a chance to go to the finals again, really.
I totally agree. They did it without Kevin Durant, and they can do it again without Kevin Durant, and
I
that'll
can
never
see that
change.
team beating Utah, especially if they get somebody nice in the draft.
Speaking of Utah, actually, this is another good way to finish off. I want to talk about quickly Utah and Philly because I'm not gonna lie, Rudy Gobert and Ben Simmons might be the most overhyped players in the league right now, and people are I think starting to realize it because Rudy Gobert and Ben Simmons, who are both one was DPOI and one was almost DPOI,
One
they
dimensional.
yeah, two one dimensional players that honestly Shaq has a lot of beef with a lot of players in the league right now, but he wasn't wrong, right? Shaq is super smart when it comes to the NBA, even though he doesn't seem like it. Shaq knew that Rudy Gobert wasn't anything like super amazing. He's like he even said to kids, if you can put up 11 points a game, you can get max. Which is again, it's this, for a center to
I
only
mean,
shoot.
it sounds like he's hating, but it's facts though.
It is, and same thing with Ben. Kobe said it. Kobe, before he passed away, he went on record saying if Ben Simmons did not develop a 3 point shot, it would be the demise of his career. And obviously, Kobe saying something, it should make an impact. Ben Simmons looked like he was practicing his three ball. He looked like he was trying to get it going,
The
but
thing I don't like about Rudy Gobert is he's a defense. Well, I'm biased. I'm a Detroit fan, of course, but he's a three-time Defensive Player of the Year, correct?
he is. He won
Well,
one this year.
I don't see him being as good as Ben Wallace ever was, as far as on the defensive end.
Dude, even Giannis, man. I would be more afraid to go up against Giannis than against Rudy Gobert. Because, yes, maybe Rudy's slightly better defensively, but
I feel
yeah,
like they just don't know how to give it to. Like, where's Drew Holiday in the Defensive Player of the Year? Where's PJ Tucker?
I know. Oh, man. PJ Tucker, I have mad respect for PJ
Where are
Tucker.
those two guys? You know what I mean? Like,
Again, the league is about, it's about stories, right? It's about telling a story. And obviously, Rudy Gobert I'm not saying he's a
the
bad,
Stifle Tower
yeah, but like,
got a cool nickname.
not only, yeah, but again, it's a lot of it's about stats too, right? Again, Rudy gets a lot of blocks, but that's because the defensive settings have him in the
Well,
paint
and
all the time.
here's one thing as well. The narrative for most of the year it was Utah being the best team in the league.
Which honestly they were number one in the West, had the best record.
Yeah, I
But
just mean as far as record
yeah,
wise,
but
they're
even
number one in the standings.
I know
You know, they
you're
got superstars.
I can hear the air quotes you have
Yeah.
around the best team because I mad respect to guys like Jordan Clarkson. Donovan Mitchell is a dog. I'll never say that Donovan Mitchell isn't good. Donovan Mitchell is the only
He's the
reason,
franchise right now.
but he deserves to be because he
Yeah,
carried
yeah.
Jordan Clarkson six man of the year. He surprised me. Maybe not in the
That's
playoffs,
like you said. There's a lot of narratives there. You know what I mean? Like,
but if
there's
you
the six man of the year. You got the budding superstar, and why not the defensive player of the year? They're the quote unquote
exactly,
best team in the league.
how do you lose though?
Utah might win it, man. We can't deny that they have a shot. You know.
But they already lost. That's the problem.
Oh,
Like
oh, never
people,
mind.
no, I know what you mean. Like you're saying at the beginning of the playoffs, people are like, "Oh yeah, they definitely have a
Yeah.
shot." But if you lose with the six man of the year, the defensive player of the year, and one of the best superstars in the league, because Donovan Mitchell, despite he is a superstar. He is on that level. He showed it last year when he dropped multiple
That
50
bubble
point games.
mania, him and Murray was unreal to watch.
But
That was the most entertaining basketball I've seen in a long time.
but again, Joe Ingles goes down with an injury. The number one percentage wise 3 point shooter in the league this year goes down with an injury. Jordan Clarkson doesn't show up. Rudy Gobert decides to not play any offense.
Well,
like
it's funny that this team, Utah, with all the narratives, you know, they got the All Stars, they got the Defensive Player of the Year, they got the six man. Like the
inexperience.
contrast,
It's
well, the
inexperience.
contrast between that and them not making it and the Hawks still being available to win, you know,
You know what?
because the Hawks had no All Stars,
Yeah.
no accolades. The no accolade team made it farther than Utah, who was the all accolade team, you know.
And I'll finish with this. When you have nothing else to lose, you play a lot better. Jazz, they were so
Well,
hyped
they
up
had a
and
chip on their
gassed.
shoulder.
Exactly. it's like, again, if you look
Trae
at,
Young resents not being an All Star this year.
for sure, and again, if you look at the teams in the past couple seasons to win, other than the Warriors and obviously the Lakers and Cleveland, Raptors literally had nothing. They had no basis. They just wanted to win, right? They had no expectations on people's eyes, right? They're the only Canadian team. Nobody thought anything of them, and now they're the underdog. They end up winning. Atlanta, nobody has any type of expectations on Atlanta. No one thought they were going to make it out of the first round. No expectations. They beat the Sixers, right? Utah, first in the league, two different award winners on their team with Donovan Mitchell as that extra bonus superstar. They have all the expectations. They crumble. Philadelphia, all these expectations gone. The Lakers, all these expectations. Oh, they're the seventh seed, but they were chilling in the regular season. Blah. Suns make them look like bitches. Bitches. Even the Suns,
James
right?
Jones did a great job in the front office, by the way, for the Suns.
100%. And even the Suns, right? You could put the Suns in that category too. 2 years ago, the Suns were an under 21 team, just like Atlanta. They were both crap. Dog awful. And that's
Trying to find their path, so to speak.
exactly. Last year, they got their JoJo back. They got their mojo back a little bit. They went 8-0 in the bubble. They didn't make the playoffs. Chip on the shoulder, back to being underdogs. This year, they come out swinging for the fucking fences, and they make it. And again, you have Devin Booker, who people, even me, thought, man, he's an A-plus player, but
He might
put
have to
him
leave.
put him on an A team and see if he's still an A-plus player. And I was proven wrong. He is an A-plus player on an A team now. Chris Paul showed us that, and he showed us that. But they still have that energy, right? They were still the underdogs. They were still like the Suns. Nobody expected them to go far. So I like
There's
that.
a lot of energy out there in Phoenix.
They got a lot of young blood, a lot of good defenders, a lot of good role players, and they got Chris Paul and Devin Booker to lead the franchise. And
Leading the charge,
you know what? Again, I hope that the finals is the Bucks versus the Suns, because that will be probably one of the most
Electric.
hype and entertaining NBA finals since the
Those fan
Raptors
bases
and
would
the
be
Warriors.
clamoring.
100%. And again, when you look at like the viewership of the NBA, right? People were starting to fizzle out when it came to the Warriors versus LeBron, right? But then the Raptors make it to the finals, and they see a surge from Canadian fans. There was like 17 million Canadian viewers per game. It was nuts. It was crazy. And even Warriors fans, right? At the time, the Warriors were still like the number one team, and they were a dynasty. So we haven't seen a more hype finals since then, and I think this one will have a lot of hype on it. Because, like you said, the two fan bases, they're going to go hard at each other.
Yeah.
The Suns you've already seen the
I'll be
memes.
excited to see. I'll be excited to see if Milwaukee can handle Atlanta.
You know
They
what?
got a lot of athletes that I think can stop Giannis at the rim. If
John-
they stop Giannis at the rim, it's over.
John Collins and
So
Clint
I'm
Capella,
kind
yeah.
of thinking.
That's
I'm kind of thinking that the Hawks might handle the Bucks, but that's going to be a 7-game series for sure. Either way.
Yeah, like I said, right now, these four teams that have made it, the parity is great. The both teams are going to pop off. I think they're all four teams. They're all going to try their hardest. They're going to leave everything on the court.
Like you said, it makes it even better because none of them have even been here.
Exactly.
They're excited to prove that, and this is their chance. They're excited to prove that they deserve to be there.
And you know what? I know as NBA fans, we're going to be watching. I know everyone listening to this podcast is going to be watching. We're going to be with you
yeah, we're
guys
excited for
every
it.
step of the way. But that's all the time we have for today, everybody. Again, for all the viewers that have been listening to us, thank you so much. We just
Appreciate
hit
y'all.
260 subscribers. We're trying to get to 1,000 just to be at that number. We want to get to 4 digits. If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, let us know what you think. Let us know if you like our opinions. If you don't like them, what do you want to hear about next? We'll hit you guys up soon with a video about the draft and how things went there, or the draft lottery decision. And that's it for us. Everyone have an
One love,
awesome one.
people.
Have a great day, and we'll hit you guys up
God
soon.
bless.
Peace.